Greetings and welcome to another LGR Woodgrain 486 upgrade video. And the last time I did one of these, we got Windows 3.0 installed on here, which I just wanted to do because I was not as familiar with this version of Windows. I started at 3.1 when I was a kid, but this one it's just always intrigued me because it's a little more primitive, but definitely laid a lot of groundwork for 3.1 and later versions of Windows. And I don't know, it's been a curious experience messing with it for the past however many months. However, there were some things that were notably disappointing about it. The fact that it didn't have any sound support unless you were to get some of the media extensions and install those, which I haven't done. So you don't get things like Media Player or Sound Recorder or anything. And Solitaire and Reversi were the only two games that it came with. We did install Best of Entertainment Pack, so we had those in there. But again, no sound. Video support's really limited in terms of things like SVGA and all that. And I also wanted to try the original SimCity for Windows 3. And the one that I had in the last video didn't work, and it turns out that because I actually had a later version of SimCity Classic, it didn't support Windows 3 anymore. Well, this one does. So thank you very much to all of you in the comments and those who sent emails and such letting me know that there were older versions of SimCity for Windows that worked with Windows 3. This is pretty cool. I did not know that this version existed, and now I have it in the box. So yay, another one added to the collection. So while there are more Windows 3 games than I thought, it's still not exactly like a gaming operating system. In fact, it wasn't even on the market for too long before Windows 3.1 came out and really stole the show. And yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today, is looking at Windows 3.1. Yes, indeed. The classic makes your PC easier to use. Let's just do this, you know what I mean? We're going to install it, get it unboxed, and, just talk about the Windows 3.1 experience, because this is just, it's a comfy space for me. This was my first graphical operating system. I had MS-DOS 5 and then 3.1 installed on top of that. And it brings back interesting memories. It was also a massive improvement over 3.0, which was already a pretty big improvement over, versions 2 and 1 of Windows and all that. But this is the one that put Microsoft Windows on the map in terms of something being very popular. And this was something that came out in 1992, less than 2 years after 3.0 was introduced. So 3 didn't even have a whole lot of time on the market before this came out and completely supplanted it on April 6th, 1992, when it was released to manufacturing. And it was sold in two different versions, primarily a $49 upgrade and a $99 full product edition, which is this one right here. So you don't need a previous version of Windows to install it from this release. But yeah, it added so many things, not just extra game and software support, but things like TrueType fonts, which was a first for Windows, at least without third-party software, so it made it a viable desktop publishing solution. Of course, one of the biggest additions were multimedia and audio support, so no longer have to worry about adding media extensions. You could just get sound and MIDI music right out of the box if you had the hardware for it. It also came with screensavers out of the box. Before this, you were limited to getting packages like After Dark if you wanted screensavers. And of course, it was backwards compatible with Windows version 3. To a degree anyway. 3.0 software worked, but not the Windows 2 and 1 software that may have worked under 3, so it depends on what you were trying to use. It also dropped real mode support, so that meant that Windows 3.1 required a 286 or better CPU with protected mode in order to function. And yeah, 3.1 ended up being extremely popular. It was really the first Windows environment to see wide software support and major commercial success, selling 3 million units in its first few months on the market, really signaling a huge shift in the mainstream PC market away from DOS and towards graphical operating environments, especially towards Windows. There were several alternatives, notably OS2 2.0, but Windows 3.1 really became kind of the standard, and then 95 took it up from there. But yeah, let's just go ahead and take a look at this right here. Let's see what's inside. I don't know if this is exactly gonna have everything, because I found this box at Goodwill years ago, and I don't know, it seemed pretty complete. Well, kind of. There's no manual, is there? I guess it wasn't as complete as I thought. So at least we have a guide of some kind. We have the discs. I hope this is all of them. If not, that's okay. I have many, many more copies of Windows 3.1. This is just the only one that I have the box for. So yeah, it comes with 7 5 1/4 inch high density discs right here. And we also get the guide to support. We also get this hardware compatibility list. You had one of these for Windows 3.0 as well. Yeah, this is pretty much just a list of all the computers and things that they had tested it with. Okay, so there's no manual in here. I was kind of hoping there would be, but that's how it goes. And lastly, we're upgrading Windows. We may as well upgrade the mouse as well. This is the Microsoft Ergonomic Mouse, the serial version that they released for use with Windows 3.1 back in the day. And yeah, check it out. It's getting that design down that was pretty popular with mouse designs from Microsoft in the mid to late 90s. Breakthrough ergonomic research and innovative features make the new Microsoft mouse the ultimate pointing device for the Windows operating system. Yes, indeed. And yeah, you can see right there, it'll work with all sorts of things right there, but they kind of built it to work with Windows 3.1 and 3.11. Interesting packaging here. Oh, I see how they did that. Clever, using the artwork on the back of the manual here as the background for that. That's cool. Oh, it's so pink. We have the Microsoft Mouse setup disc. I've come across so many of these discs just on their own, but I've never actually had the original mouse like in the package to go with it. Obviously pretty much any mouse is going to be like Microsoft compatible from this time period, but something about having this original one, no scroll wheel and serial. The only other one like this I had was PS2 compatible. So yeah, let's see what we got here. A bus interface board and bus mouse. Yes, an import mouse. I've got one of these interfaces, but don't actually have the mouse to go with it. Anyway, it's pretty simple stuff. You have that bloated mouse driver for MS-DOS. Using the mouse and moving the mouse. How do we do this? How do we use a mouse, guys? The mouse controls a pointer on your screen. That pointer can have a number of shapes. The rubber-coated ball in your mouse rolls within its socket when you move the mouse across a smooth surface. It translates the movement of the ball into signals to tell the computer how to move the pointer. Fantastic. Clicking, double-clicking, dragging. I love how in-depth this is. It's just a mouse, and yet there are almost 50 pages. The times when a mouse was still pretty fresh in people's minds. Like, you always hear that story about them including solitaire with Windows to try to help people use a mouse. It's not exactly true, but It's a really good smell. I don't know why, but it is. So yeah, this is when they didn't have that matte finish surface on the mouse. It's very glossy. I didn't know that it was actually glossy from the factory like this. One of these that I had, like I said, it was a PS2 port on the end instead of serial. It was all glossy like this, but in kind of uneven ways. So I assumed that it had been worn down over years of use. But no, it's actually glossy. Oh man, that is one clean ball bay. That's good stuff. I'm excited to use this. So we got a serial adapter here to go from 9-pin to 25-pin. Not going to be using that because I've got the 9-pin on the back of the Woodgrain 46. All right, it is actually time to get things going now, so let us install Windows. All right, I've got the Woodgrain 46 turned on and plugged into this Packard Bell CRT. It's smaller than the other one that I normally use here, but this is the monitor that I used with Windows 3.1 back in the day, so it's extremely nostalgic. It just feels right to me. Microsoft mouse plugged in and got disks ready to go. So let's start here with Windows 3.1 Disk 1. That familiar Windows setup. They used this for so friggin' long. All right, yeah, so as detected, version 3.0 of Windows on there, so we'll upgrade that. To keep your previous version and add 3.1 to your system, press escape. No, we're just gonna overwrite it and get that upgrade going. MS-DOS, VGA, mouse, and keyboard, and all that. I do want 256 color VGA at some point. I may have to get some drivers and install them myself, though. We'll just go with normal VGA for now. At this point, it's just hoping that all these discs are functional and that I actually have all of them. And yeah, just copying things over, so... Well, that was quick. It only needed the first 3 discs, and even then, it didn't look like it used much from that third one, so cool. Yeah, all these optional things. Install everything. So at this point, it starts asking for the other discs. So, all right. On to disc 6. So far, so good. Disk 7 does not seem to be needed, at the moment anyway. To set up Windows correctly, it needs to modify all the things. Go ahead and do that. Oh, we got a program manager. Reboot. Let's see what we got. Aha, and there it is. Classic Windows 3.1 startup. Followed by the startup window. And yeah, well, it looks pretty much just like 3.0 at this point because, you know, it's kept our old settings. But yeah, we have version 3.1, 386 enhanced mode. So yeah, there we go. Oh, this looks much better. Got all the color and the icons. We've got a control panel filled with all sorts of good things. We've got the option for other types of backgrounds and such. Oh, cars. Man, I remember that one. Oh man, I completely forgot that existed. You know what else exists? Many more color schemes, including the legendary hot dog stand. Oh yeah. Had a bunch of people asking like, oh, why didn't you enable hot dog stand on Windows 3? It's because it didn't come with it. This does though. That's where this was introduced. And of course, all of these fantastic TrueType fonts. Got some sound, maybe? Oh yeah. Yeah. That is exactly as it should be. So yeah, it sees it as the Sound Blaster Pro, which we do have installed. Typically what I do is install the actual Sound Blaster Pro, like Windows 3.1 software disks. Yeah, at the moment I'm just happy looking at all of the things that we can do. It brings me such joy. I don't know. There's something about the 3.1 experience. Oh yeah. Good old flying Windows. Mystify. That was the one we always had pretty much constantly on our Packard Bell 46 with 3.1. Of course, the Starfield simulation. Always like this one too. Let's just put more stars in there. Let's do like 100 stars. Yeah. Oh man. Well, let me go ahead and get the sound working. I don't know where my discs are for the Sound Blaster, but I'll just... Actually, they're probably right back there, aren't they? I lied. I knew exactly where they were. Right behind me, because I've got all sorts of stuff behind me. So yeah, this should have the... Yeah, it's got the Windows 3.1 drivers and software included in here. Oh yeah, okay, so this is a DOS installer, at least on this disk. Yeah, installing the Windows applications there, which is what I'm looking for. Nice. So hopefully at this point that means we have... Yep, there we go. Sound Blaster Pro 2.0, Basic FM. You can switch to some different things here. Let's do Extended FM. And this is why you ended up installing something like a Wave Blaster in here, which I plan to do in the future, now that we have Windows 3.1 installed. But yeah, all right. So sound is going... I mean, yeah. Creative Mosaic is a little excessive. All right, we got the mixer here. Microphone is turned all the way down, but I don't have one plugged in right now, so that's okay. Huh, talking scheduler. Oh dear.
This is the pitch and speed of Simon's voice.
Oh,
This is the pitch and speed of Perkins' voice. This is the pitch and speed of Egoer's voice.
egoer. Well, as much as I could play around with those sound things all day, it was time for some coffee. And I wrote a disc with the drivers for the video card. I have a Diamond Speedstar 1 megabyte FLB that's installed in there. So hopefully this will be the driver for it. So yeah, Speedstar. I always want to call it Speedster, like it's a car. Speedstar Pro, 640 by 480, 256 colors. We'll go with the small font version. Yay! Presumably this means we have 256 color support now. And we do. And also have a nice little Speedstar Pro configuration thing here. Look at that. It goes all the way up to 1280 by 1024 if we really wanted to. That would probably not be the best on this monitor. This is really geared towards 640 by 480, so we're going to leave it there. Yeah, we can try out that 256 color background that it came with. Not the best demonstration of 256 colors, but I appreciate the effort, Microsoft. So let's try something that takes advantage of our new palette of colors. I'm going to start with Lode Runner: The Legend Returns by Sierra and Jeff Tunnel Productions for floppy disks. Good old file manager. We got some options here for MIDI music. We'll just go with the Sound Blaster option. And here we go.
Phew! Sierra!
Oh yeah. Wow, that is some very different music. That's just nuts. Hearing it with FM synthesis instead of like the normal general MIDI and such is fascinating. Yeah, that is a different interpretation, all right. I kind of like it. All right, time to get eaten. Yay, Lode Runner. Okay, let's try something else. That worked. All right, another Windows 3.1 classic to try here is Microsoft Arcade, released in 1993 in conjunction with Atari, I believe. Yeah, it's got Asteroid Centipede. All right, one disc. One disc that doesn't want to read. All things considered, though, I mean, that's not bad. It's the first disc we've had today that doesn't read properly. All right, wrote my own disc with blackjack and hookers. Much better. And this is why I always make backups of my discs. All right, here we go. Now try some Missile Command. I have very vivid memories of playing this for the first time at an Office Depot sometime in the mid-90s. But I specifically remember seeing Battlezone and being like, whoa. You know, it's not that it's like even hard to run exactly. It's just the fact that you could. So yeah, this is the very first time that I had seen proper arcade ports on a PC. Of course, there were like a million arcade conversions and stuff in the 80s and into the 90s and all sorts of things. I don't know. I just hadn't seen anything that wasn't like garbage. This actually looked and played as close to the arcade version as I'd ever seen, honestly. So, yeah, you know, it's just one of those things. Go full screen on Centipede here. Whoops, that was pretty dumb. Oh, that was dumber. Well, I'll never claim to be an expert at Centipede. All right, so one more thing I want to try here, and that is the Print Shop Deluxe. For me, oh dang it, how does this open up? for me, like, there was an odd period in time where just seeing any of these kind of whatever, graphics that I could move around on a screen like this was just absolutely charming. I mean, I would look through this booklet over and over and over, and of course it was all black and white here, but you know, they were full color when you put them on the software on the screen, and you could print them out, and I wasted so much ink. I had a ton of fun with Print Shop Deluxe for Windows 3.1 back in the day, and it's just something I always have to install in every version of 3.1 that I have. I always like watching this little gear thing go by. It's just simple pleasures. Success. Oh yes. This screen right here, it really does it for me. Backdrops and templates, of course this was my favorite, pretty much everyone's favorite, I don't know. You just have to do coastal scene thing with the crab. Love seeing everything draw in bit by bit. Now we don't want any text right down there, we need an object, square graphic. All of the clip art, effectively. Oh man. But the one I'm looking for is, of course, Cool Crab. He's got the soda. He's chilling on the beach. Right there. I do wish I could print, but yeah, maybe another day. Well, that is it for this episode on Windows 3.1. I had planned on installing the 3.11 upgrade, maybe even putting on Windows for Workgroups 3.11, but obviously it didn't. It turns out I don't own that. Thought for sure that I did. Turns out I have another version of Windows for Workgroups. And, you know, there's other things that might be interesting to cover in the future as well, like Windows NT 3.1. And yeah, there's all sorts of things from the early to mid-90s in terms of Microsoft operating systems and all that. And, you know, related stuff that I'm sure I'm going to cover in the future. So stick around if you'd like to see some of those things. And, of course, I'm just going to be continuing to use this Woodgrain 46 whenever I'm covering games or software, anything that happens to use DOS 6.22 or Windows 3.1. I mean, that's why I've put this together. So it's just kind of an ongoing project PC. So I hope you enjoyed seeing it be upgraded in this particular fashion in this particular video. And if you did, stick around. There are new videos every single week on various related computery and tech things. And as always, thank you very much for watching LGR.